and Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the first episode of Property with Fauzia Deen. This week, we are going to talk about divorce cases, and the topic is divorce and property. So if you are a property owner and you are going through a divorce or have plans to, here are some important things you must know and take note before you proceed. Number one, if you own a HDB, you must fulfill the minimum occupation period as a married couple before you are able to sell in the open market. In the event you are divorced during the MOP period, where you have not met the 5 years of minimum occupation period, the HDB ruling now is you will need to surrender back to HDB. Now, this is even more important. Even if you choose to wait to surpass the MOP period where you are divorced during the 5 years, you are still considered as you have not fulfilled the MOP. The criteria to fulfill the minimum occupation period is to have the same marital status as you first bought your house. So in this case, you will still be subjected to surrendering your flat back to HDB at their prevailing market rate, if not at the price you bought, depending on how long you have kept the house from the purchase date. So if you are able to sustain the marriage till MOP is over, my advice is you should. Number two, the share of property. So joint tenancy will now be tenancy in common, or tenancy in common becomes variable based on the court order. So what does that mean? When you buy the house as a couple, you will usually buy as joint tenancy, where equal share is given to both the individuals. But when divorce happens, the court splits into 50-50 share or other variables based on the conditions and disputes. And this share is usually determined by the court based on the contribution to the house or based on the child custody and maintenance. For example, the ex-wife who has sole custody, care and control of the child, the court may grant more share to her, like for example 70-30. This is all based on the lawyer who fights on the best interest of the ex-wife and proposes to the court, and the court decides justly. Therefore, when selling the property, be it HDB or private, the court order must be fulfilled, and usually the lawyers who are engaged to do the sales and conveyancing will follow word to word as per the court order. Number three, so the next one is court order. The court order is final, but in the event if one party is not happy with the verdict, he or she can still file for variance of court, and it is usually costly and also delays the sales process. My advice is have a good lawyer to have the disputes and contests settled amicably. Number four, to sell or to retain. The court order will indicate if your property can be sold in the open market or retained by either spouses. Sometimes it can be both. Usually when it states it can be sold or retained by either one party, there may be slight disagreements between parties, like retaining party may ask for a lower price than selling in the open market for a higher price, and this is usually submitted by the lawyers who are representing the exes. Retaining the property can be complicated, and most of the time it can be tricky. For example, the ex-wife is able to retain the buying of the share of the property, but due to her loan eligibility, she may not actually be able to retain after all. So, always have the loan eligibility criteria checked before you go for this option. Chances of doing a variance and spending money is inevitable when there are no other options stated in the court order. Number five, so who can sell? What if the offer comes in and one party disagrees, like asking for exorbitant price or simply just disagrees or don't want to sell for some reasons? There is also a clause that states if either one party doesn't comply without a valid reason, the court actually allows to enforce the sale through a registrar who will sign on behalf of the party who disagrees. So be sure to have a consultation with your lawyers and property agents to check on your finances and timeline before you make the move. So if you have any questions or queries, feel free to slide into our DMs with your questions. Until then, bye-bye!